So it's welcome to the show about the show before the show.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to another show about the show before the show, where we dissect, deconstruct around the world with Taylor Jackson presented by Nikon. We only had so much real estate. These TVs are all linked. We can only get one image on them, except for this big one here. Please welcome our only guest for the show today, Taylor Jackson.
Hey, Tim.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Take a seat, man.
I like your microphone.
1, 2, 3. We gotta have 3. Make sure we have good audio.
It's great audio. Do you hear me better here?
I think you can back up.
Okay.
That's close enough. Iceland. You went to Iceland. Not once.
You
not
went
twice,
to Iceland.
Not 3 times. Not 4 times.
We've been a lot of times.
8 times?
We've been together probably 5 times for 5 different things.
Incredible.
I've probably been 10 times.
It's
been interesting.
I'm sorry. I'll stop. It's been interesting. Tell me about the show.
No, it's been interesting that like over even the time that we've been going, probably back 2013, maybe 2014, how much the Iceland economy, the tourism economy, has just absolutely exploded. The first time I would have gone was maybe 2011, which was not by any means like the early days. Actually, Iceland's only been a tourist destination for like, what, 15 years?
Maybe. It's possible.
But it's been very interesting that like nobody came there for tourism, and then all of a sudden their volcano blew up, and then they got some media attention, and the financial crisis in 2008 happened, and they got more attention, and people were like, that looks pretty nice, and I hear it's pretty cheap to go. Iceland Air, I think, was running some sort of break-even or at-loss campaign just to bring people to the country. So it was like $99 flights from Toronto. It was a pretty crazy time.
It was very much an economy that was saved by the airport.
Yeah.
The airline itself, Iceland Air.
The name of the episode.
There
Look
it
at
is.
that.
And
Tied
also
it in.
social media, right? Social media played a big
yeah. part.
People having that FOMO, having that I want to be there,
Yeah.
like my friends are. Kind
The
of
rise of Instagram, like that you can just share these images, and I feel like the wedding industry really kind of pushed this. Like Gabe McClintock was one of the first photographers that I think went there to shoot elopements. That it's like now, rather than having a big wedding, you can just go somewhere really awesome with like 5 of your friends and family, and you can have this amazing wedding in this beautiful scenic location that is just for you.
Yeah.
And he did that. I feel like that just absolutely exploded on all the wedding blogs, which put it in front of everybody that's kind of that like 20 to 30-year-old crowd. And everyone, I don't know if everyone was sick of beach vacations, but I feel like it was the right time that people were looking for something new, and on some level, an interesting way to be like, yeah, I went to Iceland on my vacation, not another all-inclusive in Mexico.
Right.
So I feel like there was an element of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Instagram really kind of blew the entire country up, and now here we are.
Iceland is known for being rainy. Would you say that's fair to say?
Yeah, we've had the best and worst days. There's never just an average day. It's either the most torrentially downpour, horizontal rain, wind, or just beautiful, perfect sunset at midnight, because we're there in June usually.
And we got really lucky this time. We checked into the Airbnb, this beautiful a house on top of this hill.
Yeah.
And immediately I start up the hot spring, which was controlled somehow. Basically just
We broke it, I think.
We broke it. But I look up and I see for the first time in my life Northern Lights.
All right, we've just arrived in Iceland, and we've driven to our Airbnb, and Tim came outside to check we have a natural hot spring here, and he's already seen Northern Lights, and it is incredibly rare, 1, to see them, 2, for it to be clear in Iceland specifically, and there's no wind. It's just absolutely beautiful out here. And I'm running 5-second exposures on this Nikon 24S, and I'm just kind of taking some photos across the sky. This is also incredibly early. Like, what time is it? It's 6:45 right now.
Yeah.
And we're already getting this amazing light show over top of all the snow-capped mountains out here. That was convenient. That was the welcome party. We pulled up, parked the car, went inside, you went out, turned on the thing, and just lights. And we did some photos for a little bit, and they lasted probably the longest I've ever experienced Northern Lights for. It was like pretty much all night. Like we were to the point where it's like, I feel like we've overshot this, and it's such a ridiculous thing to say that you get bored of shooting the most incredible thing ever. But when you do it for like probably 8 hours straight,
yeah,
you're kind of like, yeah, I think we got it. I think we're good. But then they keep changing, so you're like, it's kind of addicting. You're like, oh, but what if we go down here? What if we go Northern Lights hunting? All right, so now we're getting down to the water, and we're gonna try to get some good reflections before the Northern Lights are gone. So we haven't been down there yet. It might be a bit of an adventure. It's going to be a bit of an adventure. Here we go. This week on Northern Lights Hunters.
Dun, 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 dun. I've got one. Get the net! Tectonic plates is a note I have on my notes here. Tell me about tectonic plates, Taylor.
You swam in between them. Well, not really, but
The fissure of the
Between
tectonic
them.
plates. It's
Yeah.
over a kilometer long between the Eurasian and the North American plates. And there's this national park, Pingliver?
Thingvellir?
They have ecotourism, as they do everywhere else in Iceland, where you're able to get in a wetsuit or a dry suit and swim and kind of a guided
Only
snorkeling
you were
tour.
allowed the wetsuit. Because
Right.
we went back a month later, and my friends were not allowed to swim that in a wetsuit. They were like, "You're crazy."
Interesting.
And I'm like, "Tim did that like 3 weeks ago."
Yeah, we have
and they
footage.
made them do dry suits, so you just kind of like float like a I don't know, like
A bloated penguin.
yeah, and you're just kind of like
Yeah.
trying to get, and you're not supposed to move, I guess, because you don't want to like get water in your suit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't do it. You did it. I
It's
filmed.
fine. Cold is fine. You get used to it. It's all around us. Let's talk about the cooking segment. So for every episode of Around the World with Taylor Jackson presented by Nikon, we did kind of a spoof on a specific movie or scene or TV show or aspect of the country we were in, kind of like a parody thing. We did cooking for this one.
We
didn't
made it cooking, yeah. And then the episode ended up running pretty long. And Nikon was like, "You should probably get rid of that." And we were like, "But it's like kind of
The best
funny.
part,
Like
yeah.
we need to keep it." And we kept it, and I don't know. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I like foraging for ingredients that you find at a grocery store, and then just put them in nature and then pick them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that worked out really well. I don't know why we did that. We were just like, "Yeah, we should do this." We have this kitchen with kind of perfect lighting. It looked like a set, and just let's do the thing,
Let's cook the national dish,
which is a hot dog.
which is a hot dog.
Tell us about your experiences with the Icelandic hot dog, Tim.
As soon as we get off the airport, there's a store very similar to like a 7-Eleven, and we will immediately stop there, get a hot dog around 6 a.m.
One hot dog?
Well, for each hand. And then we'll eat those hot dogs immediately and then feel not well, and then go get a rental car, and then feel not well for the next 4 hours. But I think it's just the idea that you're shocking yourself with such delicious food.
Yeah.
Your body's like, I can't take this.
Because an
I need
Icelandic
more.
hot dog is like, it's beef and lamb.
Yes, high quality beef, high quality lamb.
What are we should look up the ingredients.
Don't look up the ingredients of a hot dog.
No, but the Icelandic ones are good, probably.
We don't want to know.
We won't know.
I believe we don't want to
They
know.
taste good. I know there's lamb in it, and I know they typically win best hot dog in Europe every
Yes.
single year.
Yes.
And I think it's because they do the crunchy onions underneath. So they do fried onions as well as fresh onions
Yes.
underneath, and it gives it this beautiful crunch. It's very, very nice.
A lot of the toppings are underneath, and I think that's a key point in making a hot dog. As I mentioned, there's a cooking segment in this episode. You can see Taylor construct his own version of an Icelandic hot dog and played it really well using naturally found ingredients in the local area. But to let you know that if you go to a gas station anywhere within Iceland, I believe you will have one of the best hot dogs experiences of your life.
You also might have to do it just to save money, because like if you want the soup, it's going to be, what is it, a $25 soup sometimes?
least, yeah.
At a gas station, you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably a nice soup, but I don't know if I want to go 20 euro into that.
No.
And then the hot dog is the more cost-effective solution and always very tasty.
Fills you up, tastes great, nothing wrong with that. That being said, what do you suggest people, is it a destination for people they should go check out in their lifetime, Taylor? What do you think about
Oh
Iceland?
yeah, for sure. I would
Yeah.
say typically Iceland is a destination. They've kind of branded themselves as the stopover destination. So if you're coming from somewhere in North America, going to Europe, or the other way around, going from Europe to North America, you can usually do a stopover of up to, I think, 14 days now. So you get a little slider, and you can just basically land at the airport, and rather than taking your connection immediately, you can just stay there. And they kind of started that. That was what I think brought tourism really to their country. And yeah, so just do that for a couple of days and see if you enjoy it, because it's fun.
So you'll
I like
be
it.
back.
Yeah, man, it's like a Disney park for photography. Yeah, heard it here first.
That's all the time we have for the show about the show before the show. Let's roll the show.
This week we photographed the Northern Lights in Iceland. Welcome to episode number 1 of Around the World with Taylor Jackson, presented by Nikon. feels like I've known Iceland my entire life, but it's really only been about 10 years. As a kid, I remember seeing Iceland on a map and thinking that it was this big iceberg floating in the middle of the Atlantic, and there's no land there. No roads, no cars, no people. I honestly thought that I'd never get to come here. After 15 plus years as a professional photographer, I've seen a lot of changes. One of the biggest changes has been social media, specifically its effect on the creation and distribution of images. I now spend way more time in the digital world than I do behind an actual camera. I've come to Iceland to get away from it all, to get out of the studio and return to nature for a short time, to create something outside of my normal routine. What I'm not sure of yet is if this is motivated by a deeper meaning or if it's just to generate content for Instagram. How do you think Instagram has played a role in tourism here? I feel like photographers almost kind of led the first wave.
I think it definitely did, but at the same time, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything was kind of popping up at the same time as Iceland was getting more and more famous, you can say.
The tourism is the biggest industry in Iceland now. The fishing is number 2. The fishing was number 1 before. When the bank crisis happened, then of course they were talking about it in the news all over the world.
Iceland got hit hard in 2008. Here's world famous photographer Manny Ortiz in Los Angeles to explain.
Say I want you to give me $100 so that I can buy a new lens. If I say I'll pay you $105 back in a month, you probably pass. But if I say I'll give you $150 back, we'd probably have a deal.
This is what the Icelandic banks were doing, offering incredible interest rates to foreign investors that were completely unsustainable and spending all their money. Here's Irene in a hot tub to explain the rest.
Now a month goes by and the lens still hasn't generated any cash. I still owe you money, so I find another friend and make a deal to borrow money I owe you from them. Maybe I pay that $225 to borrow the $150, and next month I'll spend $300 to borrow that $225 from someone else.
You can see why this is a bit of a problem, borrowing more money to pay back old debt, creating a huge bubble that was ready to explode. When the bubble did pop, it had a surprising outcome. Yes, foreign investors lost their money, but it brought a lot of worldwide media attention to Iceland. Through social media, a lot of people were now seeing stock photos of Iceland for the first time ever. And because of the bank collapse, it was wildly inexpensive to travel here. And as they say, no press is bad press.
That was 2008, but that was first after the eruption in Eyjafjallajökull, the volcano, 2010. And then it started.
If architects design the plans of blue and black and gray, then I can clearly trace the lines and read you in that way, designing fact from flaw, tearing down the baseness of it all.
All right, we've just arrived in Iceland and we've driven to our Airbnb, and Tim came outside to check we have a natural hot spring here, and he's already seeing northern lights, and it is incredibly rare, 1, to see them, 2, for it to be clear in Iceland specifically, and there's no wind. It's just absolutely beautiful out here. And I'm running 5-second exposures on this Nikon 24S, and I'm just kind of taking some photos across the sky. This is also incredibly early. Like, what time is it? It's 6:45 right now.
Yeah.
And we're already getting this amazing light show over top of all the snow-capped mountains out here. I switched to the 14 to 30 f4 because the high ISO of this Nikon Z6 is really good. I don't mind pushing the ISO a little bit. Another Northern Lights tip is that your initial reaction is to go for a longer shutter speed. So you want to go for like a 45-second or a 30-second shutter speed to really just kind of get all the light in. But I've noticed that somewhere around like 5 to 10 seconds is kind of ideal, because if you are running a 30-second shutter speed, the entire sky just kind of lights up green, which is the biggest positive problem ever to have. We came here with the intention to photograph northern lights, and we didn't think that it could happen. I've been here lots of times where we've been weathered out over and over again. I've been lucky one evening, but today, look at this. Ridiculous. All right, so now we're getting out into the water and we're gonna try to get some good reflections before the northern lights are gone. So we haven't been down there yet. It might be a bit of an adventure. It's going to be a bit of an adventure. Here we go. This week on Northern Lights Hunters.
Dun, 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 dun. I've got one! Get the
net! So contrary to what I mentioned just a few moments ago, I actually really want this shot specifically with really calm, still water. So I'm going to increase my shutter speed, something like, let's do 20 seconds. F4, 1000 ISO. Turn on a little 2-second timer here. And let's see what that looks like. So the bank crisis and the erupting volcano, while not necessarily positive things, actually directed a lot of media attention on this small country. The photography community really took notice, and while landscape shots were guaranteed to win the admiration of your friends on the internet, photographing a wedding here could launch a 6-figure business and transform your entire life. Weddings in Iceland would be published as fast as you could edit the images, and a byproduct of this was now that every single engaged 20-something was exposed to hundreds of beautiful photos of beautiful people in this beautiful country. Iceland was new, and it seemed to be what all the cool kids were doing, which gave safety in the decision to come here rather than a traditional beach vacation. Iceland caught on to this, and over this time, Icelandair was essentially running a break-even operation just to ignite tourism in this country even more and make it incredibly reasonable to get here. Anyone want to go for a swim in water that should be frozen? Tim does.
Okay, si no entienden algo, me avisan y lo repito en español, ¿vale? Perfecto. Okay, guys. Welcome to Cinquarters National Park. My name is Luis. I'm gonna be your guide today. I am a PADI scuba instructor from Mexico.
Attention, I don't need the extra tension, cause I'm in the fourth dimension. Trapeze high in suspension. Now don't bother with the haters, cause they all be imitators. Real life manipulators. Get it back up and see you later.
Iceland is a place that punches way above its weight class when it comes to its impact on the world. Less than 350,000 people live on this island, which is less than the city of Wichita, Kansas. Also, I'd like to take a moment here to voice my frustration that Kansas is pronounced Kansas, but Arkansas isn't pronounced Arkansas. In the past 10 years, Iceland has had a significant impact on photography as a whole. Coming to Iceland is kind of like a cheat code for photography. Remember what I said earlier about there being no shortcuts in photography? A lot of photographers are starting to view Iceland as a shortcut. That it's too easy that you just get here and get the exact same photo as everyone else. That there is no story, it's just a pretty thing, it's a check mark on your social media account, and that's what's wrong with photography, and that's what's wrong with society. I'll be honest, Iceland is pretty easy. You land at the airport, rent a car, and in 20 minutes you're at Blue Lagoon. Check. 10 minutes from there, you've entered an entirely different planet. Stand on the roof of your rental car for a photo. Check. The do it for the gram vibe is strong here. Do we come to Iceland because it's an easy level up to our status and our portfolio? A place to ratchet up to show the world that you're cooler than a beach vacation? Has Iceland become a place guaranteed to impress the people that you don't even care about on social media? Do we come here for all the wrong reasons? Have we ruined Iceland, or is Iceland just a perfect mirror on our culture right now? A culture where we want the pretty photo in the easiest way possible, where we want a life that makes others jealous even if it doesn't mean anything to us. Where public image is more important than private happiness, and where we all dream to be influencers, but no one will ever admit it out loud. Have we become a generation of Wi-Fi explorers? When you get here, though, you'll forget all of that. Iceland is so far from anything you've ever seen. You feel different here, closer to Earth, inspired to explore, without a map, with no destination, to live and to get lost. To travel is to live in the unknown, to become more calm and level, to accept when things do not go as expected. It's where you'll get so lost that you'll actually find your true self. If photography is what inspires you to come here, that is only a good thing. A lot of people have a lot of opinions on places that they've never been. And as a person that has been to a lot of places, I'm telling you to come here. So come, swim in the Blue Lagoon, pet a horse, and do whatever else makes you happy. Oh, the episode's not over yet. Welcome to episode 1 of Cooking with Taylor. We're here in Iceland, and a key part of Scandinavian cuisine in any country is using the local land and foraging for ingredients. Step 1 is to open your foraged ingredients. Find a knife. Now that you've found your knife, open the onion. Do we need to wash these? That's probably how you do that. So here we have the butter, and you just cut off, I guess you're supposed to open it first. And you throw it in the pan. There we go. All right, now we're cooking with fire. Butter is starting to melt. So we might use too much butter. How you counter for that is you just add more salt. And then, kind of like a child, you just look through the cupboards and you just see what you can find. That's too much. Essentially what you're doing here is you're making an onion reduction through the butter here. You're gonna cook it down kind of like a risotto, and you're gonna get fried onions. All right, and there you have it. We have our fried onion reduction. It is complete. We are ready to move on to phase 2 of this classic Icelandic dish. Step 2, you put the hot dog in the bun, which we foraged earlier. Traditionally, the Icelandic hot dog, you put the fried onions that we've made here through our onion reduction, actually on the bottom of the bun. What we like to do is actually to put the onions kind of on top, mix it in with the sauces, and then rotate the dog. The Icelandic hot dog is a very special hot dog, and I'm happy that you joined us today on the first and only in the last episode of Cooking with Taylor. I find it really interesting that the place we go to return to nature was made popular by smartphones and social media. Just a short time ago, very few photographers had been to Iceland. It wasn't on anyone's list, and now it's rare to go an afternoon without seeing an image from here. Like I said earlier, they really do punch above their weight class here. The entire country seems to have banded together to run tourism like a social media startup. It's lean, rapid growth at break-even rates to prove initial concept and hit a critical mass. Together, they've hit that critical mass, and it's pivoted their entire economy. It's come at a perfect time as well, where we're all craving that break from technology, but that technology has leveled up our baseline to what is exciting and what feels like an adventure. My bigger question is that if our baseline continues to ratchet up, and this is the progression of tourism, what could possibly be next? What could be more internally and externally rewarding? Will we always come back here? Is Iceland now a permanent tourism landmark in our world, or is it just a short-term fad? That's enough serious stuff. Let's take some pretty photos of stars. Astrophotography, most of it is just kind of pre-planning. So I use an app called PhotoPills, and basically what it does is it gives you the AR version of kind of what's going on here, which is augmented reality. And you can see that kind of the big cluster that you want to be photographing is kind of like right in this area. One of the big astro tips that I can also give is that you have to go somewhere where it's colder because there's less moisture in the air and less kind of obstruction before you actually get out to the stars. So I'm also not an astrophotography master by any means. These are just kind of my Cole's notes, I guess, of taking good photos out here. I'm using the 24mm 1.8. I like to get as wide of aperture as possible. So if you can use 1.8 or 1.4, you're going to be in better shape. Theoretically, you could run a 1 or 2 minute exposure, but the problem is that the world is moving and the stars are kind of staying in one spot. So you're getting small little trails if you run too long with exposure. Experiment to see what works for you, but I find that somewhere around like 10 to 15 seconds usually leaves the stars nice and crisp. Right now what's happening is the kind of the core of the image that I want to take is right here, and there is some strange light out here pointing directly at it, and I have no idea why that is or what's happening. There's also northern lights happening out here. So my main tip is 1, shoot at something like 1.8 or 1.4 if possible. 2, if you don't have a cable release, make just like a 10-second timer so that your camera just completely stabilizes before it actually trips the shutter. And I'm doing a 10-second exposure, f1.8, ISO 2000 on this Nikon Z6 with the 24mm 1.8S, and that's what it looks like. One more tip for photographing the stars is turn on manual focus. If you're running autofocus, it's gonna give you headaches. Basically what I do is I point at whatever light I can find. There's usually one light that's off in the distance, and I focus on infinity and go from there. We also made this light out of out of a flashlight and a coffee filter with a chip clip.
So what is the future of tourism in Iceland? It's wild to think that they're only really 10 years into being a travel destination. And in that time, they have stayed true to themselves, which is something I will always respect. They're not modeling themselves after anyone else. They are figuring out what works for them, failing, and iterating forward on what works. With such rapid growth, there are bound to be some logistical and physical growing pains, but this country has a good heart and it will find its center through it all. As Iceland grows, it's only going to push tourism more north and more east. It's a big country to explore, and the time to come here is now. No one has ever been upset they visited a country before there was a Starbucks. Come experience what Iceland is for yourself, not for a social media checkmark. It is a place to recharge, a place to do less, and a place worth remembering not what you did, but how you felt. In those moments, create images that mean something to you, and they will always bring you back here. Photography, like life, is a very long game. You learn the basics pretty quickly, and if you're fortunate enough, spend the next 80 years figuring out the rest. Photography is not a race, there is no finish line. We're all just out here trying to make better work than yesterday. So make more work, iterate, learn, and advance. We're all just a misfit collection of introverts that never made the sports team, trying to find our way. Good luck exploring the infinite abyss.